In a bear market, your conviction will be tested, especially if you have your capital allocated to 1 to 2 to 3, maybe 4 or 5 major equity positions that you have. If you don't have 20 different stocks, or if you do, but they have smaller positions and you have 3 or 4 really big positions, those 3 to 4 big positions will decline in a bear market, just be like every major stock declines, and your conviction will be tested, especially if your average on those high conviction equities that you've consolidated your portfolio into aren't that good. I know very, very smart people that have Palantir averages at $16 to $18. I know very smart people that have Palantir averages at $8 to $9. It's just a question of when you bought, and some people, unfortunately, like myself, bought a little bit higher than other people, or a lot bit higher. The question now becomes not dealing with the past, but going to the future. And when we look to the future with a new stock or with a new equity or a position that you've consolidated in, the fundamental, existential question, existentialism is the study of life, the life or death question for your conviction, do you exit the stock, do you stay in the stock, is what is the company doing when things are bad? When you're in a bear market, is the company diluting you more? Are they doing more share offerings? Are they buying back some of their stock? Are they doing some good things? Are they getting new deals? These are the fundamental questions that I believe you have to answer to yourself as a shareholder, and you have to dig deep into, and you probably are going to dig deep into them because you have a couple of main positions that are consolidated, and you want to know, is the company executing? Look at what's happening with Tesla right now. The major question for every Tesla shareholder, especially every Tesla bull, is it a tech company or is it a car company? If you think it's a tech company, you think this is so undervalued, it's not even it's not even a joke anymore. If you think it maybe is a car company, then it still has another couple $100 billion potentially to fall. And so that is the question that determines everything. This article right here that came out yesterday reinforces my conviction and continues to tell me that the positions that I've consolidated the heaviest into, like Palantir, are actually doing something that are different than some of these other stocks. NHS cancer treatment weight reduced in Palantir software pilot. Staff is no longer wasting time filling out forms and looking up health records. Before we get into this, and this is really, really important, this is one of the more important videos I've done around this company. Look at that title, the NHS cancer treatment weight reduced in Palantir software pilot. This is the Times. This is a UK paper. It's not, supposed to be super biased left or the right. It's in the United Kingdom. If anything, there is a negative bias towards Palantir in the United Kingdom. So the Times in the United Kingdom has written an article that is actually showcasing what Palantir software has been able to do in one of the world's, one could argue, most bureaucratic and least efficient healthcare system, which is the NHS in UK. That's not a dig at the NHS. That's just, the kind of the reality of the situation. It's kind of why they need a lot of this software. Before we dive into this article, in a bear market, a lot of people will say a lot of noise. They will challenge your conviction. And you, at the end of the day, have to be someone who either lives or dies with your convictions, with your thoughts, with your companies. And while everyone's screaming noise, looking at a stock price falling, saying, haha, you bought here, haha, it's going down, the question still remains, which company is executing? Because this bear market will be over, the macro will get better, and the companies that are being heavily undervalued right now, not because they, on any fundamental reason, but because the macro is literally not allowing them to reach any fair valuation, are the ones that are going to come out thriving on the other side of this. But the question is, are they surviving in that bear market, and are they doing things that gives you the conviction that says they're going to be able to survive? Doctors are being freed from piles of paperwork by the NHS software that stores all a patient's records in one place. The technology used by 20 NHS trusts means that the hospital staff no longer has to waste time filling in forms or looking up records. It has significantly reduced waiting times, helping cancer patients to reduce life-saving treatment 2 days faster on average by reducing time-sapping administrative work and freeing doctors to treat patients. Hundreds of surgeons and consultants, including cancer specialists, are using the software to schedule surgery. The NHS plans to expand it all to hospitals in England this summer. This software is Palantir. Reducing paperwork is seen as a vital tool to boosting efficiency as it aims to bring down record waiting lists of 7.2 million in the NHS backlog. The NHS, again, has one of the highest waiting lists on the planet. The software also means that patients with cancer can be tracked from the moment it is diagnosed, providing a single digital record of their illness, and doctors and nurses no longer have to rifle through paper records. The system, developed by Palantir, was piloted at Chelsea and Westminster NHS Foundation Trust, we covered this a couple months ago, where 382 consultants are using it. Patients with suspected cancer now have their first appointment on average 2 days sooner, and the length of time staff spend discussing them in meetings has halved. Appointments canceled on the day due to avoidable errors with records have been cut by 56%. These two paragraphs, I think, are incredibly important to understand. The software means that patients with cancer, again, cancer is not a joke. Cancer it's a horrible disease to live with. can be tracked from the moment it is diagnosed, providing a single digital record of their illness. This goes back to the ontology, single source of truth that now doctors, nurses, administrative people can actually look through. They no longer have to rifle through paper records, which makes a lot of sense. Palantir has been using, 382 consultants have been using this, and the length of time staff spend discussing patients in meetings has gone down in half. They get their appointment on average 2 days sooner than they would have got their appointment from all the backlogs, and canceled appointments on the day due to avoidable errors, avoidable meaning bureaucracy, paperwork, inefficiencies, have been cut by 56%. This is actually important, right? These are actual life or death decisions. Going back to the first point I made in this video, what is your company doing? What is your conviction play doing when things are bad? Things are bad, and the conviction play that I have the most amount of conviction in is actually making sure that people with cancer have a better chance of living. Not because they're literally going in and using AI to create new technology to help them treat the cancer, but because of all of the other externalities that exist when you're in a hospital. My grandparents both unfortunately just passed away in the tune of 10 days. So I got to see a little bit of what it feels like to be in the hospital when people are passing away, when doctors are scrambling back and forth. I mean, these are truly life or death decisions. Like, if you don't report something, if you don't see something here, if you miss something in the paperwork, if you give the person the wrong dose of medicine because you messed up you messed up like just seeing what things they're allergic to or not allergic to, these are things that happen. Like, this is why doctors have massive levels of insurance, because they get sued all the time. Like, inefficiencies and bureaucracy in the healthcare system is rampant, and unfortunately leads to life or death. And those externalities that exist necessitate a potential to solve those problems without having to rifle through paperwork or to get a lot of those mistakes to continue to happen if they're avoidable. How do you avoid those mistakes? The same way we've avoided a lot of mistakes over the past 10 years, we solve them with software. We create software that is so advanced, that is so technologically ahead of other things, then implement it throughout organizations, companies, nonprofits, governments, whatever it is, and actually solve these fundamental problems. And if we are able to solve these problems, the world can become a better place, and the financial value of the world becoming a better place and a more globally connected society, because every hospital in the world could definitely use some help with inefficiencies, then goes to the company that's providing that software. Dr. Timothy Ferris, NHS's England Director of Transformation, said, "To reduce waiting lists, the NHS must use the latest technology and harness data in a more innovative way to improve outcomes for patients. Trust needs an accurate and up-to-date picture of who is waiting for treatment and how long. This software gives them the means to harness their resources and plan better to ensure patients get the right treatment as soon as possible." Jeffrey Ahmed, a surgeon at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, said, "Deploying technological innovation has been critical for our team and treating cancer patients sooner as we tackle the backlog. We are excited to be part of the pilot phase and have already seen the measurable positive impact that have helped our team to maximize our resources for the benefits of patients." These are individual people, individual surgeons, individual doctors, individual administrators, directors of the entire NHS saying that the software has had a positive effect. And the article says above that the NHS is looking to roll out this particular software around cancer throughout every hospital in England. That's a big deal. Now, there's a couple points of analysis here. If Palantir is able to incorporate themselves throughout the NHS, and again, that big deal for the NHS is still up in play. Number one, if they're able to solve cancer time in terms of diagnosis and inefficiencies in terms of being able to treat patients and waiting times and backlogs, that means that at some level you got to imagine what other company is doing what they're doing in these small subsets of what's overall going on in the NHS for them to get the larger deal. Like, if no other company is doing these subsets, I don't know what other company is going to get the massive £400 million deal or whatever that's being discussed for 5 years, other than Palantir. Like, it's hard to imagine there's going to be that much competition. Number two, I think NHS patients care more about results than propaganda. And at the end of the day, no matter how much media exists in the United Kingdom saying that, like, Palantir is an evil, bad company, they are solving wait times because their software is good. And there have been no breaches, to the best of my knowledge, understanding, and I'm someone who researches this pretty heavily, of data being misused or mistrusted or being put somewhere or stolen. It's just being used efficiently to make sure that people that are in life or death situations actually get the treatment that they deserve. So when you put all those things together, and then the third piece of analysis here is that if the NHS actually does use them, they become entrenched in the United Kingdom, which means from a financial perspective, they just have so many more opportunities. If Palantir solves the backlog on a countrywide scale for the NHS, the case study that becomes over the next 5 to 10 years for every country that has inefficient healthcare bureaucratic systems that could potentially use a tool like Palantir to not fully solve it, but maybe mitigate 50, 60% of some of the problems they have, what is that worth to a company like Palantir? What is the financial upside for a company like Palantir? What does that mean to all the people that want to be inspired by a mission, that want to work at a company like Palantir that's not only solving that in the healthcare system, but that's solving that in 17 other different verticals? That is the existential question that I think Palantir shareholders have to answer. And, I've answered that question with my conviction, saying that if they continue to do things like this, if we continue to see results like this, and again, this is not just pie in the sky stuff. These are real people saying real things about the software is really helping them. I think I've done at least 30, 40 videos on these type of case study examples. Then we continue to get to a point where it's like, all right, I like it at $4. I like it at $5, right? And this is not financial advice, it's not a buy recommendation, nothing like that. It's just me personally, I like seeing it go down more because I'm like, well, nothing's changing about the company. In fact, the company's doing a lot better. And like the stuff that's annoying, like SBC and dilution, all that stuff, I believe that stuff will work itself out. And I think you have to give them a little bit of grace as they're a new company dealing with macro, no debt, $2.4 billion in cash, that they'll figure those things out. Even Karp has talked about the need to get to GAAP profitability because he knows that people won't stay at the company if their shares don't mean anything. And if you're not GAAP profitable, the market's not going to give you appreciation on your shares, which means the options that all those smart people you have in the company are going to go worthless, and they're going to leave your company because it is a business at the end of the day. So I think he's very keen on understanding this stuff, but there is a long-term play here, and there is a day-to-day level of execution in order to solidify the long-term thesis for that play. And that thesis for me is starting to become more and more solid as I consolidate into Palantir. So, people and bears will say whatever they want to say. Everyone can point to a stock is down. Of course they can do that. The question becomes, is your company executing when times are bad? And I would say Palantir, helping cancer patients actually have the ability to get into the room with doctors because backlogs are going away, is more than executing on what they need to do. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts below on what you think about Palantir helping cancer patients. I will see you in the next one.